In this episode, we're going to install DeepSeek and Llama AI models so you can enjoy artificial intelligence and also privacy at the same time. Hi, my name is Christian, and welcome to Creating Job Security by Mastering AI. So what are the advantages of running local DeepSeek and Llama? Well, first is full control and customization. You don't have any privacy or security issues, especially when uploading financial data or anything that you deem private. And although we're going to install this in my laptop, if you have a machine that can host both DeepSeek and Llama, you will see a better performance than the cloud version. And that means that eventually you'll save money if you're doing like really high-end and high loads of data, right? And those are the biggest strengths. I mean, flexibility and compatibility. I would say that this is just an added value, but it's not the main thing. The main thing would be privacy. And also high loads of data. If you are loading really high-end, terabytes of data, then you want to run this locally. Okay, so let me talk a little bit about what machines you need. Okay, so AI basically runs on chips that were made originally for video cards. Okay, which seems kind of strange, but that's how its architecture. And so one of the biggest companies that made those chips was NVIDIA and Intel as well, but NVIDIA made GPUs for video cards. And that's one of the biggest reasons why you want to have a laptop that has GPUs to support your local AI, right? And so the best thing you can do is go into the internet and see if your laptop or your desktop or even your home server or your office server can actually host DeepSeek and Llama, right? And basically, there's a lot of models out there that will do it. You are looking at a minimum of $1,200 and up. Now, the more money you spend, the better performance you're gonna get. Okay, so I would stay away from this. I don't know how you get $3,000 machines for $389, but anyway. So in my particular case, I'm using a Yoga Pro 9i, and I bought this machine not necessarily for AI, but one of the biggest things that makes the AI work in here is, first of all, I have a solid state drive with 1 terabyte. That's very important. I have 32 gigs of RAM. And the most important part is that I have the NVIDIA video card, the GeForce 4060. And so those are the 3 biggest components that you need in order to host your AI locally. Okay? So basically, we're going to install Llama, which is made by Facebook or Meta, and then we're going to install DeepSeek. Okay, DeepSeek is made in China, and both of these have an open source version that you can download to your machine. And so I want to kind of like break down why we're going to use all these tools, because in order for these two to run, we have to install several things. We have to install WSL, and we're using Windows 11, of course. We have to use Ubuntu. Ubuntu is a Linux distribution, okay? And we have to use Docker. And Docker is a container hosting software, okay? A container is almost like a virtual machine. So here's the breakdown of the components that are going to be installed. So Ollama is basically the engine that runs and manages all local AI models like DeepSeek and Llama directly on your computer. WSL2 is a lightweight Linux environment inside Windows that lets you run AI tools and Docker natively.
Docker is a container system that packages and runs software environments cleanly across Windows and Linux.
So the first step is to install WSL2 using PowerShell, but you have to run it as an administrator. Okay, so I'm going to go in here and I'm going to say run as administrator. It's going to ask me for permissions. I'm going to say yes. I'm going to run several commands in the PowerShell that will be posted in this video right below the description and also in my GitHub account. And WSL2 basically allows to run Linux side by side. And so that's what we're doing right now. Okay, great. And now we're enabling the feature. So it's WSL version 2. Okay, so we just finished rebooting. And once again, I'm going to go and run PowerShell. So once again, I have to run it as an administrator. Say yes. And then we are basically going to confirm that WSL was installed. And there we go, system version 2. All right. Okay, now the next thing we're going to have to install is Ubuntu 22.04. Now, like I mentioned before, you could actually go to the website and download the software, but it's easier to do all of this via commands. And we're going to search for Ubuntu. And actually, I've done this installation before, so I'm going to click on this. And we want exactly that version. 22.04 LTS. So let's go and see if we find it. So it says that it's installed, but it's not because I actually, there we go. So it's installing. This is going to take a few minutes. So this is how you install Ubuntu. Remember, WSL is so I'm going to use my own name as the username, and then I'm going to choose a very simple, remember, this is running inside your machine. So security doesn't have to be as tight as if this was a internet based server. Okay, so Ubuntu is installed. We can see that it's installed because this interface, this prompt belongs to Ubuntu. But that's nice that we have Linux running inside of Windows 11. But that's not the purpose of this video. So we're going to move on to the next step. And we're going to install Docker Desktop. Okay, so one of the easiest ways that you can go there, the link is going to be in the window as well, in the video below. So the link for Docker is going to be in the YouTube video description below. So this is probably one of the few links that we're going to download directly from the internet. So as I said, I have a Yoga Pro 9i. So that's an AMD 64 chip. So that's the one I have to download. But if you have Mac, you have to figure out if you have an Intel chip or a Silicon, or if you have an older version of Windows, or if you have Linux. Okay. So, but for my particular laptop, this is the version I have to download. This is going to take a while. So what I'm going to do is going to pause the video here and I'll resume when it's downloaded. So as we can see, we're about to finish the download and okay, download is ready. So I'm going to double click on it to install Docker. Okay. And like I mentioned before, so I'm going to say yes in Windows 11. So Docker is a container hosting software. Containers are like virtual machines, but they're lighter. So we're going to use WSL2, which we just installed. And we're going to say, okay, so the Docker installation is finished. And
And basically you can find Docker. If I go to Docker right here, you see Docker desktop, it's installed. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pin it to my taskbar, and you will understand later why we want to do that. And the same thing I'm going to do for Ubuntu. So pin to taskbar. Let me make sure I have the right one, because one of these will install it again. So let's go here. Yeah, unfortunately, I clicked on the wrong one. Okay, so let me remove this. So let's go to Ubuntu again. So this is the one we want. So let's go. There we go. Okay, so, and the reason why you need these two in your taskbar is because every time that you reboot, you will need to run Docker and Ubuntu in order to get the AI interface to show up. So we're going to download this for Windows. And Ollama is going to be the software that downloads and runs the AIs. So the download takes a few minutes. We'll come back when this is done. Okay, so we downloaded Ollama, and what we're going to do is we're going to run it. So Ollama runs natively in Windows. It doesn't need Linux or it doesn't need Docker, but we're doing that in order to get the interface running. So let's go and install Ollama. This should go fairly fast. Okay, so Ollama's running. This is the interface it gives us, but we can also check by going to your actual local website. So this link that I'm going to paste right now is actually running out of your laptop, and there it says Ollama's running. Great. So we know Ollama's running after the install because of the interface and also because of our local website. Okay, so now the next step is to download DeepSeek and Llama from inside Ollama. And that's also going to be done via PowerShell. Okay, so the PowerShell, I still have it open. Okay, so before we download this, so there's two versions you can download right now as of October 2025. So there's DeepSeek R1 and version 3. Okay, there's a substantial difference between both. These are both open source. You can both download them to your computer. R1 is about 5 gigs and version 3 is about 404 gigs. So if I were to download DeepSeek version 3 to my laptop, it would eat half of my hard drive, or almost half. And also, the power that I have in my laptop will never be able to take advantage of DeepSeek version 3 because this is a more robust and bigger AI engine, okay? And also, there's other difference. For example, this version 3 is more of a general purpose chat and model. It's built to handle a wide range of tasks, conversation, summarization, creative writing, code, etc. And the R1, it was more particularly focused on reasoning, chain of thought, multi-step problem solving, mathematical or logical tasks, and tasks that benefit from explicit rationale. So if you're a coder, you probably want to download version 3. And if you're a business person that has basic tasks, R1 is going to be the version you want. But I would not recommend installing version 3 on a laptop. You would need a power computer, and you would need one of their higher end NVIDIA video cards that run, in the several thousands of dollars. Okay. So after we said that, we're going to install R1 into our laptop, and we can take advantage by actually going in here into PowerShell and basically type in this command, Ollama pull DeepSeek R1, and it's going to start downloading. As you see, it's 5.2 gigabytes maximum size, and this is going to take a while. So I'm going to pause the video here, and we'll continue when this is almost done. So the download or the pull is almost finished. And then I believe we're going to see some other things happen during the install that you will see on the Windows PowerShell window. So let's go and minimize all of this stuff. It's 100%. Okay, great. Yeah, that's what I thought. So we'll see some other stuff that gets pulled. And then, okay, great. So now we're going to pull Llama 3. So this is the command for Llama 3. Okay, so we are done downloading DeepSeek. We still have not run it. We're just pulling both open source AIs. We pulled DeepSeek, which is from China, and now we're pulling Llama 3, which is from Meta or Facebook. So we will come back to the screen once it's done downloading. Okay, so we're about to finish downloading Llama. As you can see, DeepSeek takes 5.2 gigabytes, and then Llama takes 4.7. So we're looking at around 10 gigabits in total. Okay, they're both downloaded. So let's make sure they're running. And one of the ways you can do that, still in PowerShell, we're gonna basically say hello to DeepSeek R1. And okay, great. So we got an answer from DeepSeek using PowerShell, and now we're gonna do the same thing for Llama. We're gonna copy this command right here. All these commands will be in the description below. Something like, tell me what version you are. Let's see what happens. Okay, so here we go. So I am Llama. Okay, great. So they're both running. Now, this only means that it's installed and it's running, but we can't use this for our daily activities, right? So now what we're going to do is we're going to enable the user interface. So you will see DeepSeek and Llama just like you see ChatGPT or you see DeepSeek on the web, right? So this is DeepSeek on the web. So we're going to do the same thing, but you're going to see it using a local website. So one of the things we can do before looking at the user interface is check some things. So this is basically giving me my GPU count inside my laptop. And what we're going to do is we're going to lock some of these GPUs. So Ollama has a better performance. So this is one of the commands. Okay. And then we have to talk about CUDAs, right? So the second thing we're going to do is we are going to allocate a CUDA to Ollama. Okay. And we're going to restart PowerShell. Okay, we're going to close this. We're going to go to PowerShell again. We're going to, as administrator once more. And we're going to test the prompts again. So let's see if we get a better performance this time. Yes, much faster. So those two commands that I just wrote or executed basically increase the performance of DeepSeek and Llama. Okay. So I'm just going to say hello. There we go. So much faster after basically setting the GPU, and setting the cache of the CUDA. Okay. Okay, so we basically installed Llama and DeepSeek, and we have it running in our PowerShell. We also increased the performance, and now what we're gonna do is we are going to create a web interface. Okay, so we're gonna open Docker. So this is Docker right here. We installed it just a few minutes ago, and and so we need to accept. We need to accept the license agreement. So we'll say accept. We can minimize this for the time being. Okay. So you can use your Google account to log in. I'm going to use my GitHub. This is the same GitHub account that I use for to post some of the prompts for this channel. So I'm going to say proceed to Docker desktop. So I'm already logged in, but you would see basically an interface that is very similar to when you log into a website using your Google account. But it really makes no difference how you log in. You can use GitHub or you can use Google. For most users, Google is going to be the answer. Okay, so let's see. Yeah, so it's running. Okay, great. So as you can see, this is Docker. Okay, now Docker is almost like a virtual machine. So to explain the concept of virtual machines, basically I have Windows 11. This is my host, and I could be running Linux. I could be running some other operating systems inside Windows. In order to do that, I would get a virtual machine host software to do that. And containers are almost the same, but they're lighter. So virtual machines can be very heavy. They could be 20 gigabytes, etc. And containers are much lighter. So, but they have almost the same functionality. So now that I have Docker open, I'm going to basically go back to PowerShell for 1 second. Okay, so this is not it. We're going to go to PowerShell. Here it is. And I'm going to run Open UI. So once again, this is probably one of the most technical and most difficult videos in this series of videos. I would anticipate that most of the other videos you're going to see in this series are going to be super simple compared to this one. But basically, we're going to tell Docker to create an internal host for Ollama, and basically we can access that using our web browser. So let's go and see. So there we go. So it's going to run all of this. It's going to download all the dependencies it needs. This is inside Docker in order for to create a web URL. Okay. So what basically we're going to do is great. So it's running. So is it status? Is it healthy? I think so. Okay. So let's go to the website. So once again, this is a local website. Okay. So this is where I made a mistake last time. This sometimes takes a while to show up, so let's give it a few minutes. Okay, so as I mentioned before, it takes quite some time for this to show up after you install it. So we're looking at localhost. This means that this is running out of my laptop. It's not a web server. It's not in the cloud. You're going to have to put your email address and a password. Let's make sure I create a very simple password that I can remember. Remember, this is running locally. I have to put my name as well. Okay, so let's go to the next stop. So this is Open UI. Say okay. So let's select the model. So there we go. So we have two models that we install. We have DeepSeek and we have Llama. As you can tell, it looks very similar to ChatGPT, but it's not. Both models are installed, and we can basically access both models from the same user interface. Now, the same user interface, what you see here, was created by Open WebUI. Okay. So I just rebooted my computer, and I wanted to emphasize on this. If for some reason your web Open UI is not working when you reboot like this, that means you're going to have to run Docker and Ubuntu. So I'm going to click on Ubuntu first, and it's running. And then I'm going to go to Docker. There we go. Now it's starting the Docker engine. Okay, so let's go and see if we can go back to, okay. There we go. So just make sure you run both Ubuntu and Docker every time you reboot in order for the web interface for DeepSeek and Llama to run. That's very important. And that's something that most people don't understand. When they install this, every time you reboot, you're going to have to initialize Ubuntu and you're going to have to initialize Docker for the web interface to show up.
Don't forget that if you or your company need to integrate AI into your daily workflows, please don't hesitate to contact me. My LinkedIn information is down below.